on that one. I don't want to give you an immediate answer just because it really is. Tinkering that rule could be a difference maker.
Because I feel like the no increment has truly taken this game to be proper esports. And it's really found that justification for making it part of the Esports World Cup and really integrating it. That's why I love the 5+0. Yeah. But I also feel like the 50 move rule is not adapted for that kind of chess.
Right. It does favor the person with more time. Like you're just going to, because 50 is a lot of moves to make. And sorry, I laughed not at anything we're talking about. I saw Duda's queen on h5 and I'm like, this is normally what beginners do. They're taught to go for the scholar's checkmate, it's called. And Duda brought his queen out over here. So I don't know. I would be so curious to know why he did this. Like, what about his opponent or what about this game made him want to bring his queen out? Typically, everybody, we don't do that because when black develops, it comes with a tempo. If your queen is hit, it generally has to move. So this is fascinating. It's working to his advantage in terms of the clock situation. Look at Duda. Is he listening to some music over there? He's bopping his head. He's having a good old time.
Drygalov was wondering, what the heck is this guy doing to me?
Yeah, this is actually not a still frame. This is really Drygalov's face. He's like, what's going on here? What is this nonsense with the queen coming out early? But Duda, I wonder how much he's played this before. Does he actually have experience in it? Is he just like sort of testing the waters? Because objectively speaking, black is doing well. Black has just developed.
I got to tell you who's on the 4th table right now.
Okay.
His name is Arjun Erigaisi. He was a sit-out for game 1, and he's now on the 4th ranked table.
Yeah, he's just, back with a vengeance. I mean, Arjun, it's around 6, so he's going to have 4 out of 5. I mean, it's 4 wins in a row is definitely almost expected for him at this stage. But yeah, now he's playing Min Lei, so it's what we talked about even when Magnus joined late. You start winning, rattling off those victories, and then you get to play wonderful time. You get to play Duda. It just starts getting really challenging. But if Arjun catches fire, there's really very few that can stop him.
Problem being, we talked about it earlier, he's going to be losing on tiebreakers regardless. Reason why is, well, first of all, he has the no score from one game. So you accumulate the points of the people you play. But just to make it worse, when you start out with a loss, you will then face weaker players who are then less prone to take points afterwards, and that becomes a double whammy. So he's going to be last almost regardless when it comes to the tiebreaker.
It's true. So if there's a big tie, you should expect Arjun to be down on that list. And so he knows that. And that means that if he's in a situation come round 9, 10, 11, he may have to play for a win even if the position calls for equality. And I mean, this game started kind of weirdly with Duda bringing his queen out to the rim of the board the first few turns, second turn in fact, but right now it's actually quieted down. Not a single pawn has been traded. There has been a swap of a light square bishop from white for a knight for black. In closed positions, knights are usually better than bishops, but this isn't a static position. Black soon, if you allow him, could make a move like pawn to f5. The reason why that would be good is you're trying to open up the bishop. You can also try for pawn similarly to d5 to open up the bishop. So this bishop at the moment isn't so strong, but it can improve its situation very shortly. But Duda is going to play on the dark squares. When your opponent has a bishop on the light squares, you want to play around that piece. So using the dark squares is what he'll aim for. And well, he'd actually play tactically instead of strategically. This is a big moment by Jan-Krzysztof. He gets this push because if this pawn were taken, the opening of the E-line, rooks win stare downs with queens, and that's why Drygalov says, I will keep this status quo for now. I'll keep everything locked up. If exchanges happen, that only helps the location of white's pieces. So this is very bad news for Drygalov. So Duda has done everything he wants. He's laughing. I don't know if he's like listening to George Carlin in the background or he's just having a good old time with his chess. But his opening has worked perfectly because it's a locked position and the knights are better than bishops.
It's a little bit limited what the players are allowed to listen to when it comes to this tournament since, well, they can't be taken in talk. But I do remember back to the Champions Chess Tour in Miami back in the day where Hans, for example, said the words, the chess speaks for itself, but where Magnus was laughing so hard as he was playing because he was listening to a Norwegian comedy podcast while he was playing. That seems insane for me. I'm having a hard time focusing on the board. So,
well, when I was growing up playing, people would just like listen to music, or that was the norm at the time because, just speaking truthfully, like at that point, people weren't so worried about people being able to cheat because technology wasn't as advanced. So people would have their Walkman, just putting on their music. Now nobody can even have like a watch on, right? It's like the rules have changed quite a lot because the world has changed, technology has changed. But what hasn't changed is Jan-Krzysztof Duda being an extremely strong player, and now he's putting the clamps on here. He's just saying, you're not going to open this position. I'm just going to shuffle around for a long time. Eventually, I'm going to even pretend like my knights are doing something. You're going to get a little worried. You're going to spend time, and then I'm going to use the clock as my greatest weapon. So right now, all 8 pawns are on the board for each side. So the knights are jumping around, hopping to find good squares. I mean, look at this knight. What's it doing? I don't know. What's this knight doing? I'm not sure either. Where can it go? That's going to be the magical mystery tour, but I don't really know what either side is supposed to do. But the side that controls the pawn breaks is often the side with the advantage. And here, this is one pawn break. White can push forward. White can start trying to throw pawns up where his rooks are. So Duda up about 25 seconds now, has, I would say, an easier to play position. Drygalov has done nothing, I would say, majorly wrong, but I do think that the clock is going to be the biggest problem for him.
2 minutes, 10 seconds then for Duda. It's 1:51 here for Drygalov. I'm looking at some of the other tables right now. We could say that a player who has already won, Ajedrez, he beat Min Lei already.
And that's bad news for the rest of the field because that means Arjun is feeling it. And he's probably mad that he missed the first round, but it hasn't hurt him too much. Oh, my goodness.
Talking about personalities that don't always match their persona on the chessboard, if Eric Geisty on a chessboard can smell blood, he's vicious. In real life, he's the kindest man you could ever meet.
Yeah. Quite soft-spoken, very gentle. But yeah, when it comes to the chess, he takes no prisoners. He is willing to be as combative as is necessary. And I see this ticker up the top. I asked the question. Thanks so much to the team for getting this information that that Duda brought his queen out early to h5. He had never done that before. So not that there's preparation going on in Titled Tuesday anyway, but it couldn't have been prepared. And whoa, I wasn't prepared for what just happened. The rook got trapped here. And just like in the game between Min Lei and Hans Niemann, we have a material imbalance. In this particular game, it is a knight and a pawn for a rook. But excuse me for saying it out loud. These rooks are not really rooks. Like, can I take the title away from them? They're staring into their own pawn. They're not getting any activity whatsoever. And this knight is hopping around. At some point, white can throw this pawn forward, trying to open up some more ground. And the 40-second lead on the clock, that is more than sufficient for, it's not in the eval bar. The evaluation bar up at the top, it talks about the position on the board. But if we can incorporate time as part of that function, we would say that white is just winning at this stage. Like, this is just too much to overcome if you're Sergey Drygalov. And the knights, they're going back and forth at some point. Duda might push his pawn. He could take it one step at a time, just decide where all his pieces want to go before he eventually pushes pawn. So objectively speaking, the chessboard itself, maybe black is holding. But given the time situation, if black holds this game, it would be quite a miracle because Duda well ahead on time, and he's the one who controls the position. So the rook is sliding now for Duda back and forth. The black rook is back on the starting square. We see at some point, there it is, the pawn goes forward for Duda. And that was a big moment because Drygalov had to spend a turn, at least a little moment, determining whether to capture or not. And here they go. All of Duda's pieces are free-flowing.
Hans Niemann has beaten the 16-year-old Pusarevsky.
Okay, Hans in great form today. He held against Min Lei. That was a tough position for him. But now he beats a dangerous 16-year-old. And we see that Hans in great shape, just a half point off of a perfect score. And so he, what he doesn't want to see, though, is Jan-Krzysztof Duda run away, right? Because then you get into that psychology of, like, I need to beat this guy rather than a draw is acceptable. Because Jan-Krzysztof Duda, like Arjun Erigaisi, can catch fire at any moment and has already caught fire in this tournament.
How possible is it to maintain this with 22 seconds?
Impossible. Well, that's a little harsh. Somebody maybe out there in the world, Ali Reza Firouzja, could maybe hold this game. But, I mean, you're playing against Duda, who's a beast, and then you've got no activity for yourself. So, like, this is the most active black can get, is like putting a rook on these squares. So now you're just shuffling, and at the right moment, this is going to happen. The arrow that I'm showing is white is going to... Okay, that is a way to get activity, but it's also a way to give up all your pawns. So that's what I meant, is that the only activity that black was able to now secure was by giving away material, because pawns block rooks. Rooks love open files, pawns block files. So black gave away all the pawns, and now you see where those pawns are. They're marching forward, about to become queen. Oh, okay, a little bit of a trick there, but that's why Duda slowed down. He didn't want to allow these rooks to take his pawn, but he's still up so much time. And even if he loses one pass pawn, the other ones will determine the outcome of this game.
And even if he was to save the position, he still wouldn't have the time to do anything with a saved position. So I guess it's a catch-22 here for Drygalov.
Yeah, maybe catch 21 because that's the amount of seconds Duda had remaining there on the clock. But Duda,
That was sharp. That was good.
Thank you.